elements the climate engineers are dispersing into our skies. From the India Times and many other sources, scientists find microplastics in clouds for the first time. Why for the first time? Because they never looked before. The report states the following. The team identified 9 different types of polymers and 1 type of rubber in the airborne microplastics in our clouds. And then they say, quote, "We can only tackle the problems caused by microplastics in the sky if we all work together." Yes, that part's true, the last part. And working together starts by exposing and halting the climate engineering assault, which isn't just dispersing untold quantities of polymer fibers, aka microplastics, but also a long list of heavy metals and other elements. Welcome to the toxic fishbowl. How long can you hold your breath? Not just climate change, more correctly, climate and ecological collapse being further fueled by covert climate engineering operations on top of all the rest of the decimation from industrialized militarized society. We breathe in microplastics in the equivalent of a credit card each week, according to a recent study published in the journal Physics of Fluids. Experts are starting to correlate microplastics with lung inflammation, shortness of breath, and an increased risk of lung cancers. The report then says most of the larger microplastics deposit in the nasal cavities and trachea because the nasal cavity acts as a, quote, filter. When you're slow breathing, again, smaller particles are actually dropping in the deeper areas of the respiratory system. Plastic nanoparticles can then move into different organs in the body. Obviously, this is harmful, and the scientific community pretends they don't know. Let's add this. From BBC, how microplastics are infiltrating the food you eat. From that new report, microplastics have infiltrated every part of the planet. They have been found buried in Antarctic sea ice, within the guts of marine animals inhabiting the deepest ocean trenches, and in drinking water around the world. Plastic pollution has been found on beaches of remote uninhabited islands. Again, I want to make clear for those that are new to this subject, primary climate engineering element, polymer nanoparticles, dispersed in skies all over the world. This is absolutely a part of this. It will never be admitted by the so-called science community or the matrix-controlled media. This report continues. The remote uninhabited islands, and it shows up in seawater samples across the planet. One study estimated that there are around 24.4 trillion fragments of microplastics in the upper regions of the world's oceans. That's a very gross understatement. But they aren't just ubiquitous in the water. They are spread widely in soils and land too, and can even end up in the food we eat. Unwittingly, we may be consuming tiny fragments of plastic with almost every bite we take. There's no question about that. In 2022, analysis by the Environmental Working Group, an environmental nonprofit fund, found that sewage sludge has contaminated almost 20 million acres, that's 80,000 plus square kilometers of U.S. cropland, with PFAS forever chemicals, which are commonly found in plastic products and don't break down under normal environmental conditions. Sewage sludge is the byproduct left behind after municipal wastewater is cleaned. As it is expensive to dispose of and rich in nutrients, sludge is commonly used as organic fertilizer in the US and Europe. What a great idea. Let's just spread toxic sewage on our food. Again, and welcome to the planetary asylum. The report then says the microplastics will end up in waterways as rain washes the top layer of soil into rivers or washes them into groundwater. The major source of plastic contamination in our rivers and oceans is from runoff. What is coming down in the rain? Again, polymer nanoparticles, part of climate engineering operations. Research also shows that microplastics can stunt the growth of earthworms and cause them to lose weight. I wonder why. Why are there almost no earthworms anywhere we look anymore? They're almost gone. They then say the reasons for this weight loss aren't fully understood. Another case of paid not to understand. But one theory is that microplastics may obstruct earthworms' digestive tracts, limiting their ability to absorb nutrients and so limiting their growth. Is that not a very obvious conclusion, just like all the marine animals that are gulping down plastic and then dying because their whole digestive system is plugged? Crops absorb nanoplastic particles, minuscule fragments measuring between 1 and 100 nanometers in size. Again, that's exactly in the climate engineering element range, or about 1,000 to 100 times smaller than a human blood cell. from surrounding water and soil through tiny cracks in their roots. Chemicals added during the production of plastics can disrupt the endocrine systems and the hormones that regulate our growth and development. The BBC report continues. Chemicals found in plastic have been linked to a range of other health problems, including cancer, heart disease, and poor fetal development. High levels of ingested microplastics also cause cell damage, which could lead to inflammation and allergic reactions. They then say research shows that we are ingesting microplastics at levels consistent with harmful effects on cells, which in many cases are the initiating event for health impacts.